Checking the facts is probably one of the most challenging DBT skills to work with, and at the same time, the most essential part of what we do in emotion regulation. Primarily, this is because the skill itself is all about differentiating between what's happening in the situation that we're facing and our story about what's happening in the situation that we're facing. Quite often, these can be two completely different things. Yes, sometimes our story about what's happening is exactly in line with the facts of actuality. Sometimes it's a little bit off in some areas, and sometimes it's so far out in left field, it's no longer in the same ballpark. Our behaviour patterns are often just a reaction that's based purely and simply on the story that's generated by our perception of the current situation that we find ourselves in. If our interpretation of this situation is completely out of sync with what's actually going on, it can lead to excessive amounts of emotional suffering. In many cases, there's a big difference between actuality, in other words, what's indisputable about the situation, and our own personal reality, which is often based on perceptions that are driven by our distant past. Our own childhood reenactments of these past experiences are incredibly powerful things, and they regularly influence our current behaviours in a completely subconscious way. I truly believe that I was constantly living into my past, rarely facing things in the moment as new and fresh experiences. I also believe this to be true for many of the people I support in group and one-on-one counselling. When we're activated, we only see things from the perspective of the story that's in place because of the psychological filters that are based in hindsight bias or confirmation bias. These subjective screens play a massive role in the way that we see the world. They highlight the information that's strongly associated with our childhood stories, otherwise known as our schema, which in turn then activate our modes of behaviour in an attempt to cope with the emotional experience. These behaviours are basically the different parts of our personality that are reacting to an extremely rigid point of view about what we should or should not do to fix the current problem. Checking the facts gives us the ability to step out of these stories, accepting that there are many different truths at play in any given situation. Dialectically speaking, checking the facts allows us to recognize our own reality from that of other people's, accepting that neither is right or wrong or good or bad, so that we can see if the behavioural response that's trying to play out is effective for us to live the life we want to live. It's important to recognise that our own unique version of reality is also forever changing on its own. After all, nothing is concrete forever. Our stories change as we grow and get older and learn new things. As individuals, we develop new behaviours minute by minute, hour by hour, day by day. We shift into different perspectives based on the fluid nature of developing as a human being, and it's this ability to learn and grow in a positive manner that makes us who we are. In contrast, the facts of actuality are just so. They're exactly the same for everyone, and they are completely indisputable regardless of who's describing the circumstance. If the facts around actuality were provided as evidence in a court of law, there would be no doubt in anyone's mind that this was the truth. Nothing is in doubt, it's just simply a fact. The following is a series of questions that you can ask yourself when attempting to check the facts. I highly recommend practicing these questions in situations when you're not emotionally activated. Use them to notice your stories and see if you can recognize the times when your own psychological filters have you seeing the world from a certain point of view. When taking a look at this, describe only the facts that are identifiable through what you can actually see or what's actually been said or heard. Notice and challenge the presence of your judgments or opinions or feelings that might be trying to influence the way you're seeing the current situation. See if you can spot any absolute ways of thinking or where you might be using hearsay or rumours to try to justify your particular point of view. Try to stick to what you know is just so in actuality. If it's possible to do so, label the dominant schema that's present in your system. Identify the emotional impact of this story on your personality. If you're not at the stage yet to know what the dominant schema is, just document the story that you're telling yourself about the situation. This will give us the opportunity later to take a look and see if we can actually identify the schema that's at play. Take some time to develop your ability to think of other ways of looking at things. Test your interpretations and assumptions to see if they would actually hold up as fact in a court of law. This is the opportunity to label the threat. In other words, what is it that I'm actually afraid of? Assess the probability that the threatening event will actually occur. Think of as many different possible outcomes as you possibly can. When you've identified the fear, it's often the case that this is seen as some sort of catastrophe, and it can sometimes be helpful for us to imagine this particular catastrophe actually playing out. Through our mindfulness practice, imagine how you might cope well with the catastrophe using skills like problem solving or planning ahead to build mastery or even radical acceptance. Take some time to rehearse these responses to just prepare your system for the possibility of the catastrophe coming true. When you can identify the different things that you're feeling, check out facts that actually fit each emotion. Explore this from a state of wise mind. If you can, discuss with someone in your support network that you're able to have this type of conversation with. This has got to be somebody who will validate the point of view that you're holding on to and at the same time challenge the perception. When it's possible for you to do so, download the worksheet at the bottom of the website page that's attached to this video. I'll leave some links in the description below. Take the time to complete it to the best of your ability. Then use this as a guide. Practice asking yourself these questions when you notice the possibility of a story that might be active in your system. Use your mindful journals to explore these stories further to identify your dominant schema and pay attention to the facts of actuality as opposed to the story that you might be telling yourself. If you take a look around my YouTube channel or the pages of my website, you're going to find a lot more videos and handouts on this and many other skills associated with DBT and schema therapy. If you want to know more, come join the live online conversations that I facilitate each week on Zoom. I'll leave some more links in the description below. And as always, if you like the content of this video, please subscribe to the channel, smash that like button and turn on those notifications for all the latest from me and the Liberation Place. I really hope this video gave you an idea for how you can use the skill of checking the facts in your own process of taking action to live the life you want to live. Thanks for watching. Hope to see you again soon. Please take care, be safe and be well.